I 32M's found out my wife 30F is having affair, and she doesn't know I know. Throwaway for obvious reasons and details changed, yada yada. It all started a few months ago. There was a continuing education experience that I was looking into attending for my job. However, when I brought it up, my wife expressed interest in also going because it was not only something she was interested in, but she hadn't been able to go in years because of our kids' 2 boys, under 5 years. I know moms work really hard to care for their kiddos, especially in those younger years. I work full-time, so the moment I get home I take the kids so she can get some rest. Anyway, this request seemed difficult, but I decided I'd put my neck out for her. After all, she deserves to grow too, right? So I spend my proverbial chips asking my boss if she can go instead of me. Surprisingly, he's actually okay with it after our frank and candid discussion, so she's able to go. I spend the week mostly home from work except when kids are at preschool, take care of the house and kids, and it's an awesome week. The boys and I get really close, playing all kinds of games and solidifying the bedtime routine. Saturday rolls around when my wife is getting back, and she's over the moon. It seemed like the conference was really good for her. She came back with a lot of stories, as she loves to tell stories about her events. She informs me she's so happy she has friends she can talk to now and mentions that she'd like to go hang out with them now that she knows them. We live in a suburb, and they can all go hang out in the city together. I'm very excited for her as I haven't seen her this happy in a while. She typically experiences bouts of depression, so this was amazing. Fast forward a bit. She is getting ready to go hang out with them and she comes out from getting ready and she looks cute. Little tank top, shorts that make her body pop. I comment and just says, thanks. She'll be back in a while. She gets back and I ask how it went. Good. Who did you hang out with? I don't know, people? You don't know them. I brushed it off, but notes that she didn't tell me any stories. She always does that. She does this 3 more times. I start getting suspicious. She's getting distant and she's always on her phone. I start to put 2 and 2 together. Well, I see she's on Google Hangout a lot. We know each other's passwords for accountability, and hers is already up on my phone whenever I log in, but I don't often log in. I start to think maybe she's cheating. Then I have to convince myself she's not. She wouldn't do that. We've been married 9 years, we have 2 kids. She's over in the city right now with her friends, it's just a chill time to be herself. Right? I tried so hard but I couldn't stop. I logged into Google Hangouts and there it was. One of the guys she met at the conference and her was at the top of the message list. All their correspondence was right there. It was vile. Things my wife and I had never said to each other. They were rendezvousing, just the 2 of them, to duck. They were meeting up right now, at the usual place. And when they weren't ducking, they were timiting like crazy. My kids were in the room while she was sending those messages. I almost threw up. My heart rate was at 175 at least. I felt every possible emotion a person could feel while still having to care for the boys, make dinner, do baths, get ready for bed. I told them I was feeling sad, but not because of them, and that daddy might need a little more patience. They were amazing. That was 6 days ago. I've had to pretend, for 6 days, that nothing is wrong. I contacted a lawyer and I am filing for divorce. However, the retainer fee is way more than I or anyone in my family has. So I have to pretend everything is okay while I find this money. A couple nights ago she asked if I wanted to have time and I said I had a headache. Then I actually was sick to my stomach and almost vomited again. I can't have time with her as the guy may not be clean and I don't want a VD. Plus, it hurts to think about how she could do that. What did I do wrong? I have no idea what to do. She's keeping up the charade just fine, but I'm cracking as time goes on. What should I do? I have to protect my boys from her. She's not stable. Pathological liar, inappropriate conduct, and the kicker? We're in the middle of marriage therapy. What should I do? Edit. People are asking why I am concerned about my kids. Good question. When I was 22 I met her at a convention. Much like this one. It turned out she only lived like half an hour from me, so we started hanging out. Found out that until recently, she had a fiancé. No big deal. That's totally normal for a 20-year-old to have gotten engaged and ended it, right? She said he cheated on her. Press X to doubt. She showed up after we'd been dating for a bit with a suicide note in her hand. I took her inside, and from that night onward, I didn't leave her side. I wanted to make sure she was safe. She would lock herself in the bathroom with razor blades and cut herself. Since the beginning of our relationship, and after we got married, she'd said she felt depression and thoughts of suicide at least 5 or 6 times. She also has absolutely no impulse control, obviously. She is a narcissist, everything is someone else's fault, never her own, and she doesn't have any emotionally healthy behaviors with the children, yells instead of communicates, tells them I'm done instead of parenting, and just leaves it to me. My kids won't got to bed unless I put them down. I wake up with them every morning, and when they wake up in the middle of the night, I make and feed them breakfast. She sometimes makes them dinner like she did last night, but usually she asks for fast food. Which is unfortunate because she does cook really well. All that, and she lies about everything. She's unstable and inconsistent, and kids need emotional stability and consistency. Edit. I have words for things now that I didn't before. I threw around the word narcissist without really knowing what it means. After reading Becoming the Narcissist's Nightmare by Shahida Arabi, I am fully aware that she is a narcissist. Ready to go down this rabbit hole? Good. Because I've been waking up at 3 a.m. to read it without consequence from my abusive partner. People have asked me why I did not get out sooner, or why I didn't realize she was not a good mom sooner, even judging me, saying my emotions were getting in the way of seeing her motherhood. Well, here are some answers to that. I have something called trauma brain, and it started from childhood. My mother was extremely emotionally manipulative and a narcissist herself. She would be overly controlling and critical, throwing in overt and covert put-downs and cruel verbal abuse, in addition to attempting to control everything I did. You don't have it as bad as I did, you wimp. You could be so much better than you were if you worked as hard as I do. You're going to that crazy school where they teach you the wrong things. Come home and stop letting them poison you. From the book, For those who have been abused as children by narcissistic parents, trauma literally changes the structure of a child's developing brain, which is extremely malleable during that time. Dr. Martin Teicher 2006 pointed out the growing evidence that verbal abuse in childhood can change the way a brain is wired. There has been corresponding research that confirms that parental verbal aggression can in fact lead to changes in the brain. Page 160. Also from the book, for those of us who have experienced narcissistic abuse since childhood, many of us are familiar with the trauma bonds that can keep us locked in the vicious cycle of meeting and mating with narcissists. 11. That second quote is the first line of the introduction. I was hooked. There are biochemical bonds that are formed, especially in children, with victims to abusive people. When trauma survivors encounter stimuli that remind them of their trauma, the amygdala, which processes emotions, reacts as if they are experiencing the same event. 163. In fact, the biochemical bond is so strong it can even affect memory in a phenomenon called abuse amnesia. The reason that I can't always remember exactly what hurtful things my partner said to me is because my brain literally programmed it out. The chemicals my brain associated with my partner were oxytocin, dopamine, cortisol, adrenaline, norepinephrine, and serotonin. You may have heard of some of these. Oxy, the feel-good drug, the drug labeled dope, the drug that rewards us for certain behaviors, cortisol, the stress hormone, adrenaline and norepinephrine as the fight or flight hormones, and serotonin is the mood regulator. With an abusive partner, these rise and fall at any given moment. This leads to what is called a trauma bond, the result of intense emotional experiences that happen with our abusers. 162-175. Abused people are basically kept strung out on certain types of drugs and hormones for their entire relationship. My abuser has never ever had to show her true self because with narcissists, there is no true self. They rely on masks and fake emotions to get their way in any situation. What abuse? Throwaway? It can't really be that bad. There is a cycle of narcissistic abuse, and it all starts with trauma bonding. The cycle is idealize, devalue, discard, destroy, Hoover. The trauma bonds are located in the entire cycle, see if you can spot them. Idealize means your partner fawns over you, often called love beaming. It's a honeymoon period with occasional insights into their narcissistic nature that good people often chalk up to human error. C. The narcissist only looks for targets who are prime candidates for emotional manipulation. My wife and I dated for 3 months before we decided to get married. She also made us having time extremely frequent and completely mind-blowing, as that was something I hadn't experienced before, and we'll get to this later. She had a lot of practice. This idealization also causes most normal people to open up and be vulnerable with their partner, but this is just fuel for the narcissist's next phase. Devalue means that they will begin to pick on your insecurities, hopes and dreams, and character. Once you're hooked on the dopamine and the oxytocin, everything is exploitable. The narcissist will employ covert and overt strategies of putting you down and making you feel worthless. I experienced this with harsh jokes. My husband is such an idiot, he forgot to unplug the coffee machine. He probably needed more coffee. Oh, yeah, this happens in public too. I also got overt put-downs. You wouldn't have lost the tickets if you weren't so stupid. You can't focus on anything, you need to get your shit together. Why don't you ever think about me? You're so selfish. She also attacks my support networks, calling my friend my butt buddy, and beaming my phone with text messages whenever I'm at his house once a week to gather with friends and hang out. Even typing that made my cortisol rise, thinking about how my self-care could be interpreted as selfishness when it is not. Your value plummets, setting you up for the next phase. Discard is when the partner throws you to the curb, literally or figuratively. There is a moment when the narcissist gets tired of the supply, the attention and admiration of their trophies. We say trophies because the narcissist only views people as objects that are extensions of themselves, like a purse or umbrella, and when the narcissist is tired of the supply, it will move on to a new one. In my relationship, this looks like I'm done with you. Followed by excessive doting on our kids, her new supply. However, she gets worn out with them even faster, because while I can hide my emotions, the kids cannot. The other day one of the boys accidentally kneed the older one in the nose, and he started crying. She told him he has an ugly cry, and then he cried harder because he was called ugly, and then my wife said, "What? I didn't say you were ugly, I said you had an ugly cry." I cradled him in my arms and told him Mommy didn't mean it. She dismissed us all and went to go chat with her boy toy in her bed. Her favorite words, each and every day, are "I'm done." Then she emotionally abandons us, sometimes for days on end. This is another element of trauma, and this is what I'm worried about for our kids. What happens when this is the norm, when I'm not there, and I can't help organize the pieces when trauma happens? I say pieces because trauma is literally a fracturing of the brain. Oh yeah, did I mention that I've been relegated to sleep in the guest bedroom? Because I went and helped a friend with a woodworking project after the kids were asleep? Then, destroy. The narcissist will use their posse to destroy the character of the abused person, making it seem like they are the crazy person. Fortunately, in my situation, I have the support network where she does not yet. It takes time for her to establish, and she hasn't had enough of that yet. So, it's only 2-3 people right now. Then, the most significant piece for me, hoovering. This is when the narcissist, like a Hoover vacuum, attempts to suck you back into the traumatic vortex of the relationship. Usually this occurs when the narcissist loses control of the victim and wants to regain control at the very moment the victim attempts to move forward with his or her life. 51 I'll update the post with the way she tries to hoover back in after she's served. In the past, it's been with time. After the conference, she had time with me every night for a week. Probably because she'd already hooked up with her current fling. I had no idea. Now, what specific elements of abuse are we looking at? Buckle up folks, because it's about to get very real for some of you. If your partner exhibits one or two of these, it may be NPD, or it may be something else. But if they exhibit 7, 8, or 9, then DM me and we can talk about how the book says you can get out of that abusive relationship. Toxic and abusive behaviors exhibited by someone with narcissistic personality disorder. 1. Being overly critical and controlling towards their partners, covertly and overtly putting them down through cruel verbal abuse, name-calling, harsh insults disguised as jokes, contemptuous remarks about victims' appearance, lifestyle, line of work, or support networks. 2. Being physically and/or stimuli abusive, coercing into stimul situations you aren't comfortable with, or even threatening to leave or ruin the victim's life if they do not comply with their wishes. 3. Engaging in hot-cold behavior alternating through different hormones and drugs. This is the cycle of idealize, devalue, discard. They love you completely or they hate you. 4. Controlling every aspect of the partner's life, isolate the partner from family and friends and sabotage important life events or goals and aspirations. 5. Stonewalling into silence. Any concerns about the relationship are met with silent treatment, I'm done, or disappearance. 6. Triangulating victims with other love interests, comparing the victim to previous lovers and relationships. 7. Gaslighting, diminishing the abuse so that it doesn't feel real, deflecting accountability. 8. Smear campaigning, slander the victim's character and reputation so that the abuse victim is left with no support network. They project their own bad behavior onto the victim. 9. Blame shifting, projection of malignant traits onto the victim so that they seem like the crazy person, and the aggressor appears just fine. That's all her to a T. So, there you go. That's why I think she's an unfit mother, and that's why it was so hard to realize I needed to leave. I had set a boundary, don't duck other guys, and when she broke it, I realized all the other stuff that was off. Narcissists don't have boundaries, and kids need boundaries, among all the other crazy emotional abuse they'll be subjected to with her. Update: this week has been exhausting. I went to visit 3 lawyers and contracted with one. The papers are being worked on. It will take at least 24 hours to process, then they'll talk with me about a plan to serve her. You might be wondering how I secured a lawyer. Well, I had not really had ties with my family. My dad and her are always at odds, and after one time that he didn't follow one of her rules with one of the boys, she lost it at him. She convinced me he was the toxic one and that he was bad for our relationship. So I hadn't really talked with him in like a year, even though I had convinced her to let him come visit once. She didn't say a word to him the whole time. I didn't know where else to go, so I called him up. He picked up immediately, excited to hear from me, and this was our conversation. Dad, are you alone? And you promise not to freak out? Yes. What's the matter, son? My wife is having an affair. Oh, throwaway. I'm so sorry. My parents had gotten a divorce when I was 18. He really was sorry. I continued. Dad, I'm sorry. Son, you didn't do anything wrong. At this point, I can't hold it all together anymore. I lose it, completely, in car, at the parking lot of the grocery store. I haven't sobbed like that since I was a child. I'm crying right now as I type this. Yes, I did. I'm so sorry. I've been awful to you. At this point, he starts crying too. And I sob more. I'm just sorry you're in pain, throwaway. I'll tell you this so you don't feel like you have to keep saying you're sorry. I forgive you, but you haven't done anything to wrong me. That's what love looks like. I've been missing that feeling this whole time. This understanding that love makes sacrifices, doesn't focus on itself. And my dad has always loved me. Then he told me he'd pay for whatever I needed, no matter how he had to do it. When this is all over, I'll have a proper update, probably in a new post. I'm so tired of pretending, but I need to hold out for another week. My little ones, my conversations with my dad, my close friends, and the support from y'all keep me going. I hope to have another update by next Friday. Wish me luck. Also, how long has there been a typo in the title? Sheesh. Redditor's reactions. Redditor 1, protect the evidence. Talk to a lawyer. They usually give a free consultation. Do all this while acting perfectly normal. It's very difficult, I've been there. Find out if the dude is also married. If he is, message his wife and send her the transcript. Y'all agree on a time to confront so they have no time to prepare and warn each other. Then drop the bomb. Tell her friends and family what a stupid, selfish posh she is and that you're divorcing her sorry ass. Tough road ahead, but you can get through it. Op answer: I have printed all the evidence 3 times in envelopes at 2 different friends' homes. I have talked to a lawyer. Unfortunately, I can't find any in my area who do family law and free consultation. I was suggested to consult at one office even if I don't use it because that lawyer plays dirty. The guy she's cheating with is married, with 2 kids. I had to restrain myself from sending stuff to his wife right away. I needed time to think about it. I have an ordered list of all the people I have to call and tell when she gets served the papers, and when that happens she will be nearby. She's arranged another rendezvous Friday. I'm hoping to have papers served right after that. But I have no idea the timeline. Thanks for the encouragement. Redditor 2, oh man, I'm so sorry you're having to deal with this. What a bitch. I don't know what you can do in this situation. How long would it take you to save the money that you need? I don't know if I could sit there and live with someone who has betrayed me like that, even if just to save up money for a lawyer. Op answer, honestly? She's draining our accounts with frivolous spending, and we never really were able to save that much anyway. She's in and out of jobs so frequently that she never makes a stable paycheck. And we just bought a house this year. Realistically, to save that up, I need to already be out of the relationship. And I'm not. It would take 10 years for me to save that much money. I'm a teacher. I don't get paid enough for this. Redditor 3, a couple nights ago she asked if I wanted to have time and I said I had a headache. If she thinks she may be pregnant by the other guy, she may be trying to cover herself for an oopsie baby. Redditor 4, abandon ship before you sink with it. That's disgusting. Makes me sick reading that she asked you for time whilst she was doing this with other guys. And you both have kids too? Disappointing would be an understatement. That is downright vile. You don't deserve that. Duck marriage therapy. She made her bed, she should now lay in it. Ditch her as soon as divorce is a success and don't ever talk to her again. There will be complications with the kids, but I'm sure you'll be able to arrange that. Let me say this, if you forgive her, the thought of her cheating will always haunt you no matter how happy she seems with you. If she wants to be promiscuous or get with other dudes, that's her business. You move on and go find yourself a proper woman. Hope you get through this and best of luck with things. You deserve to have a happy, stable life, bud. Op answer, I'm sorry that made you sick. I had the same reaction. I would say I don't comprehend how she does it, but I think she genuinely believes that she loves me while she's ducking this guy. She's not stable. She has deep-seated emotional and psychological problems that she refuses to address. I plan on having her out of my life, but I don't know if I can fully keep her out of my kids' lives unless she screws up. And by that time, it might be too late. I know I don't deserve this. I may forgive her, but I'll never forget what she's doing.